Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and I've kept it off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitance in your weight loss and in your weight maintenance. Today we're going to continue this series, Reflections of a Weight Loss Warrior, and talk about my dysfunctional eating during college. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also in the episode notes you'll see links to my website, my books, my podcasts, and if you appreciate my content, there's a link for PayPal. At the minimum, please hit the like button and post a comment if you can. All right, so again, I recommend watching these in order if you can. I've lost my weight, but I don't know how to eat right. I was never exercise of the disordered eating that I had in my childhood that made me obese. But through the grace of God and exercise, I was able to lose my weight. And now I stand at the precipice of the beginning of college, petrified that I'm going to gain it back. I had some experience in my senior year of high school with girls, and I'd kept my weight off for a year, which is a big deal. But in some ways it was good and bad to be away from the house. I went to college in another town that's only about 3 hours away from Houston. So I was living alone for the first time. And I don't know if that was good because I was away from my parents, but idle time is the workshop of the devil, right? So you have all this free time now, and what are you going to do with that? So in this episode, we're going to talk about my eating during college, my eating dysfunction, and then we're going to talk about in the next episode, my workouts to offset my eating. And we have an episode that we did about 2 weeks ago on the perils of calorie in, calorie out. And no doubt that's what I was doing in my college years. So what did I do? This is what I essentially did for 4 years of college. I would weigh myself every Friday after I did my typical 5-mile run and then spend a lot of time in the steam room. And I would weigh myself. And then after that, starting Friday night, probably to about Sunday morning, I would just binge beyond binge. Just tons of food, scarfing it all down, gigantic meals, starting at Friday night, all through Saturday, and then Sunday morning. And then what I would do is once Monday rolled around, I would essentially starve myself. This was the time, so we're looking at 1992 now, we're moving up, now we're in the 90s. This was in the time where Weight Watchers had the 1 gram of fat frozen entrees. So I was eating a lot of that stuff because back then, remember, we thought that fat was bad and we thought that carbs were okay. I mean, think of the USDA pyramid back then, right? It was a big pyramid, which you had to eat 6 to 11 servings of carbs, including cereals were in there. And like this goes back to Ansel Keys, and we'll talk about him in a future episode. The way he kind of manipulated the Americans into believing that vegetable grains, vegetable oils were good for us. But the USDA pyramid, eating like that, made us turn in and look like the USDA pyramid, right? Obese. So starting on Monday, I remember eating Jell-O, fat-free Jell-O, sugar-free Jell-O, because all aspartame. And I would eat Weight Watchers 1 gram of fat entrees at night with some crackers. And then at lunch, I used to watch soap operas. This was what I used to watch all my kids. I used to watch the whole ABC lineup. And I remember watching it with some other people, mostly girls. And I would eat like a bowl of peas from the cafeteria and a bowl of rice and just mixing that with mustard. And I would eat that. And I would work out every day, which we'll talk about in the next episode. So I did this for 5 days straight. I pretty much starved myself, and I was getting probably enough calories because I was eating all these carbs, but not enough fat. And not surprisingly, my acne got really bad. I never had an acne problem in high school. Then in college, my freshman, sophomore year, I had horrible acne, and it was due to, I think, to the dietary insufficiencies that I had because I simply wasn't getting enough healthy fat. Somehow I was able to work out every day, but I was just eating garbage. Maybe it's because I was getting a lot of the fats that I needed on the weekends when I was just eating all the fast food and all the ice cream and all these things like that. But it was just kind of this pattern of feast famine. And I did that for 4 years. So I'd starve myself through the week, get to that Friday, weigh myself. And then if I was like even remotely close to what I consider to be my base weight, which I think was probably around 180, then, I mean, as soon as I left the gym that afternoon or that evening, I went out to wherever and I'd go to like Dairy Queen and get 6 blizzards, or go out and just consume tons of food. And that's what I did for 4 years. Calorie in, calorie out. Absolutely dysfunctional eating is not something that I would recommend. Certainly it could be something that some of you guys can relate to that have disordered eating, but I didn't have the tools. I didn't know. As I said, I was still eating the way I was eating in like my middle school years and my high school years. Nobody taught me as soon as my weight got to normal how to eat normal. So I adapted. I'm like, okay, well, this system seems to work. And as the years passed through my college years, my weight pretty much stayed the same. I was like, well, as long as it's working, I'm not going to break it, right? If it's working, don't break it. So I just kept doing that all the way through my years in college. So the next episode after we talk about my workout regimen in college is I later moved to Alaska for graduate school, and then my eating changed during that time. Guys, post in the comments, let me know if you can relate to my disordered eating, a feast and famine. Please hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.